Teddy, the Westgate, 440 prop bets to go over for Super Bowl 53. How about it?
Look, there aren't many legitimate wise guy parties in the world. Last night at the Westgate, and I encourage you, if you're ever in Vegas the week before the Super Bowl, go down to the Westgate Superbook the Thursday night prior to, a week ahead of the game. It's something else because literally it's like the sharpest bettors and their runners in full force down at the Westgate last night. More than $400,000 they took in $1,000 and $2,000 limits on those wagers. Jay Cornegay, quote, "I didn't expect this. It's time to start expecting this." Handles are going to continue to increase. And of course, so many props to talk about. I don't even know where to start when there's 440 props and we got to break them all down. Where do you want to start, Donnie? There's so many to discuss.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be like you spend a whole show in there trying to break down all and try to get those added advantages. The easy ones, as we know, always the heads and tails always pop up right there. Also, I always like to look into the conspiracy side of things, Teddy, where it's like you hook in the referees and, who's going to score first, who's going to get the penalties or more penalty yardage. Obviously, we know that the Patriots are on a high penalized team. But one thing I do like to look into where it's not so much of a formula or exactly what's going to take place. We know, Teddy, that the New England Patriots struggle, it seems, in the first half of Super Bowl football games. And also, we also know that they like to kick off and defer to the second half. So there are some value in some of these prop bets, but also some quirky ones as well, which we like, where it takes in some NHL players along with the NFL game, some NBA players. Talk about some of those types, Teddy.
Sure, and then those are the fun ones. They really are, and they're interesting to handicap, and they give you something to sink your teeth into significantly. You have James Harden points. The Rockets play the Jazz on the Saturday before Super Bowl Sunday. Harden points versus the longest touchdown of the Super Bowl, -9.5. Kevin Durant points. The Warriors are playing the Lakers the day before the Super Bowl. -2.5 versus Jared Goff completions. Zion Williamson points and rebounds on February 2nd. Duke plays the day before versus Patriots and Rams of first-round points. Phil Mickelson fourth-round bogeys or worse on Super Bowl Sunday versus Josh Reynolds receptions -1.5. Interesting ones to consider, no question, but when it actually comes down to putting a chunk of money on them, well, these are most assuredly the type of bets you want to do your research and do your homework on. We'll be doing that throughout the course of the next week. Be sure to tune into that betting show every single day. We will have one show next week. We really sit down and break down props for an extended stretch. But bottom line is we're going to touch on it every single day. So you better be here watching that betting show right here on sportsbookreview.com.
Going to be great there. And there's going to be a lot of people next week whining that they couldn't get the right number. Why couldn't I get New England at, a pick 'em or a +1 when I should have, when the line's now up to 3? Another team whining out there still, Teddy, which it seems like we might be able to have one of these each and every day with a different player or a different owner in the organization for the New Orleans Saints. Ben Watson comes out, the all high and mighty. He's one of the team leaders. He needs Roger Goodell to come out and lead by example. You know how you should lead by example? Don't let one play in a game in the fourth quarter come back to bite you when you had a 13-0 lead in your home stadium, Ben Watson. Again, Teddy, New Orleans, they just can't get over this one.
No, and I don't blame them for not being able to get over it. It's a really brutal beat. And when you see an obvious pass interference, an obvious helmet to helmet, and it doesn't get called, I can understand the whining and complaining and all of that. For a day, maybe for 2. When you start talking about, it's a week later, we're still going to be bitching and moaning. Hey, life sucks. Life's not fair. Deal with it. I don't know what else to tell you. Roger Goodell is not going to go back and change the outcome of that game. And of course, Goodell didn't have any public comments scheduled. His next public comments will be when he meets with the media on Wednesday at his Super Bowl news conference. I'm sure Roger Goodell will talk about it then as best he can. But what can he say? The ref screwed up. The wrong team's in the Super Bowl. Don't expect that to come out of Roger Goodell's mouth.
Yeah, even if it did come out of his mouth. What happens if he has the press conference next week? He's like, you know what? We all reviewed the tape. We were completely wrong. It should have been a penalty. That ain't changing the outcome. Tickets aren't getting reversed out there. The Saints fans aren't buying tickets to the Super Bowl. So you're going to have to live with it one way or another. It's a long offseason. We understand that. But hey, Better luck next year in this one. Teddy, seems like every day we go over a lot of bad beats on the show. They're fun to talk about as long as, once again, it doesn't involve a team or a ticket that you bet. Tough break on Murray State. I know a lot of people are looking forward just to watch this game with Ja Morant taking the court. Goes down in the first couple minutes, still ends up, Teddy, scoring 20 points, gutting it out, but it was clear he wasn't 100% right from the get-go of that injury there. Belmont pulls out the victory. Also, I was watching a little bit of late-night action, and I was sitting down, winding down my evening. Oregon up 5 points with a couple minutes to play, and the almighty prayer answered for Washington, pulling up for 3 on a running jumper with 1 second to go. 3 foul shots later. Game is over. Ends up being a 61-56 final. There were a couple other. You know what was interesting, Teddy? As we were probably filming yesterday, an afternoon or early morning game that tipped off with Oakland. Talk about that one, which took a bad beat. It didn't have anything to do with the final score in the game, but tickets change hands for sure there.
Oh, it had something to do with the final score. It didn't have anything to do with who won. The question was,
that's what I mean.
Is IUPUI going to win by 5 or are they going to win by 2? The meaningless, and that was legitimately half court. We had guys tweeting us during the show when we were recording yesterday, talking about, are you guys going to talk about this? Well, we couldn't talk about it because it was going on while we were speaking. But again, I don't mean to laugh. All right. It's brutal when one of these sticks you in the gut. And that was one. And there was another one last night with Louisiana Tech against Marshall. You know, Marshall's game's tied at the end of regulation. What happens? Bulldogs win by 9 in the extra session. Anything but overtime. Anything but overtime if you have the dog. No, not overtime. And now you got to sweat the whole thing again. They're tough. If you're going to bet on sports on a day-in, day-out basis, you have to be able to take that punch. You can have your moment, but you have to be able to wipe it clean before the next day. At least 4 of them last night in college hoops. And those are just the ones we noticed. I'm sure there were more when it came to first halves or second halves or any of the additional wagers you can make in college hoops. But my condolences. And then Murray State, real quick, with Ja Morant. Remember we were talking about yesterday? I'm like, I don't know why this money's coming on the dog. Well, somebody knew something with Morant not being 100%. And that somebody who knew something cashed a whole lot of money on Belmont last night.
I'll tell you, I had one late down in the Big South, and some of these games that look like, Teddy, they're in middle school gyms. High Point, I was sitting on a +3 ticket late in the ball game. It's a 3-point game with 5 seconds to go. Longwood does the right thing and fouls in the backcourt to force free throws. What do I get out of this one, Teddy? With 4.7 seconds to go, a swish on the first, so we're inside the number at +2. Then we have to miss the free throw, which gets thrown off the side of the backboard and causes a, not a technical foul, but a violation. Goes the other team. 2 free throws the other way. 55-51. My +3 goes up in flames.